quite a crowd in a while, so we're a little carried away with our visiting. So it's great to see everyone here tonight. Council get to their seats. And we call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. I'm going to let the record be known that Vice Mayor Alonso, Councilmember Navarrete, and Councilmember Aguilar do have excused absences tonight and will not be with us. We do have with us tonight Councilmember Statico.
Here.
Councilmember Armitage.
Lost, but here.
Councilmember Lopez. Here. And I am present. We do have enough to have a quorum to convene the meeting. I'd like to invite our youth council president, Nathan Taylor, to the podium as he's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Van Gorp. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In Psalm 118, we are told that God is for us. He is not against us, and we have nothing to fear. Lord God, we acknowledge your daily presence in our lives. We are so thankful for your help, for your guidance and direction. As we discuss and make decisions, you are here, showing us the way. You walk with us, even in the hard and difficult moments. We are very grateful. Thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We do have two special presentations tonight. Our first presentation is by our youth council, who's going to present us on their activity. Mr. Taylor, would you like to come up to the podium and bring the rest of your youth council members and introduce yourselves to us, please?
I'm Nathan Taylor. I'm the youth council president. I'm Daniel Burnett. I am the vice president. I'm Emily Price. I am our secretary. I'm Jasmine Ortega. I am the treasurer. I'm Taylor Allison. I'm a member. I'm Lauren Allison, council member. So, me and Danica will be doing the presentation. Our plan for the Youth Council is to encourage and foster collaboration and leverage between all sectors of the community, government, business, nonprofits, civic, and education that promotes alignment and maximizes private, public, and philanthropic resources for the best benefit of all citizens. We have between 20 and 25 volunteers. We have 70 Superior Junior Senior High School students that help us out on our activities. We worked on 13 community-wide projects this year. The 4th of July community event, the VFW Pancake Breakfast. We helped with the Prickly Pear Festival. We helped the VFW by putting on the trunk and treat. We helped the football team with their championship parade and celebration. We helped the Optimist Club with their miracle on Main Street, and several others that you can see up there.
We do a number of community events and festivals. Like 4th of July, the community event.
So you kind of speak into the mic because we can't hear you as well.
The Prickly Pear Festival, MLK Day Parade, Trunk or Treat, Miracle on Main Street, and then others as you can see.
Our youth council have attended several meetings. We've attended two city council meetings. Me and Ms. Garcia are on the Community Development Committee. And we also attend the Copper Corridor Coalition meetings. The youth council is made up of members of the FCCLA, DECA, Junior High Student Council, High School Student Council, and this year, on advice from the mayor, we are applying for the Democracy Program. The student participation in projects and community events and on student council, as you can see here. Resident participation in Superior Leadership programs. We have VFW members that help us out. Optimist Club helps us. We get help from the Superior Chamber of Commerce, the Arizona Youth Partnership, and many. Superior Police Department, Superior Fire Department, Superior Unified School District, and Resolution Copper. For this summer, we have many plans. We plan to do every other week movie matinees. As you can see, the different dates in the movies we'll be doing. We'll also be working with a staff member from Superior Unified School District to provide video game dates for the kids of Superior. And those are the dates as well. And those are our members. We've already introduced ourselves. That's it. Thank you.
I have a question.
Hold on, you have a
This is
question.
for any of you. What do you find to be the most rewarding activity or the most rewarding event that you've had on the council?
Probably the 4th of July event, because we 100% do that by ourselves, so it's really cool to see that the community really likes it, and we have people from other communities attending, so it's very rewarding.
Oh, that's great.
We do appreciate your help and you're making a difference in our community, so thank you, and we can't wait to hear more about the movie nights and your other activities in your schedules. So, thank you for that. Council, anything else? Okay, at this time, we were going to do the oath of office for our police chief, Frank Alanis, and we have a big crowd here today, so we're going to swear him in, and then we'll give him a few minutes to say a few things about himself at the podium, but let's swear him in first and make it officially official. You ready? I'll carry you back now. All right. So, repeat, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Frank Alanis, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of police chief for the town of Superior according to the best of my ability, so help me God, or so I do affirm. Congratulations. Take our picture.
There we go.
Now we have, now, I think I have to, yes, you can, I think you go on to that slide.
I can talk about it.
Okay.
First of all, like the mayor said, my name is Frank Alanis. I'm really pleased and it's an honor to be here. This is the pinnacle of for a law enforcement career is to become a police chief. And I couldn't think of a better town for my first job as police chief to be at. I've always been fond of Superior, even though I've been down the road in Casa Grande. I've had friends who worked here in the past, and obviously we drive through here and stuff like that. But it's a beautiful community, great opportunity for me, great opportunity to serve the community. And one thing I do want to say is that I am your police chief. I'm not here for myself, so I'm here for you. So if there's any time you guys want to talk to me, just pick up the phone and call. Eventually we'll get the website set up. I'll get an email box that says Chief of Police, so emails can come directly to me. So when that day comes, I don't know how far we are with our website, but hopefully that'll be soon and we can get that going. But until then, like I said, I'm here for you guys. The police department's here for you guys. You're gonna start seeing some different things. Last Saturday we were at the volunteer dinner. This Friday we're at the farmers market. So some officers will be there doing fingerprint cards. So you're gonna start seeing a lot more engagement in the community. And besides that, any questions? So how much time do I have? That could be here all day.
Councilman Alonso, who drives a silver Dodge Charger?
If there's no questions, I'll be back in the room.
I got a question for you. What experience do you have in other departments?
So, I have 20 years of law enforcement experience. I started when I left the United States Marine Corps, left the rank of sergeant. I went with the Indiana Department of Corrections. Then I came to Arizona. I worked for the Arizona Department of Corrections. Then I made the decision that I wanted to be a sworn officer, so I went to Pinal County Sheriff's. I was there for a short time. Went to Coolidge for a year and a half, and then I really liked Casa Grande. It's good 18 years. So that's my law enforcement experience. I've worked patrol, bicycles, detectives, traffic. I can recover narcotics. Gosh, you name it. I've always had my hand in the jar on something. Education-wise, I have an associate's in administration justice, a bachelor's in public safety administration. I'm working on my MBA. It's a little slow right now because of all this, but I'm picking it back up. And then I've graduated from Northwestern University School of Police and Command Staff, and then International Chiefs of Police, Leadership and Public Organizations. So that's my experience. Thank you. I hope that's okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to the mayor's report. Over the last week specifically, we've been managing a few critical issues. We learned last week through a resident that our Head Start is going to be closed at the end of July this year. We reached out to Canal Gila Child Care Services is the nonprofit that manages our Head Start. And they were forced to remove 51 slots from their total service area, and they chose to close the Superior and Globe Head Starts based on the fact that we were not running a waiting list as per their census data. They also said that our poverty rate is decreasing, therefore we were had less eligibility for Head Start based on their numbers. This has been very concerning because they made some very strong assumptions that our elementary school, preschool could accommodate the 17 children that may or may not have early childhood education. Going back to our full-on strategy, early childhood education is important to our community, so we're looking forward to having a meeting with Head Start on Monday to discuss these issues. We're working closely with the school district on this. And I'd really like to thank the staff and Congressman O'Halloran himself. When he heard of this issue, he called a teleconference immediately for Saturday morning last week, where he had Ms. Russell from the nonprofit there. One of the things that's very concerning to me is that that particular board, while they are supposed to serve all of Pinal and Gila counties, do not have representation. There's one person from Globe that represents that region in that entire board. Everyone else is from San Juan Valley and Casa Grande. So I'm not sure that our needs are actually discussed adequately in their board. So that's very unfortunate, but we are working on that. We also learned, and many of you have probably seen on Facebook, that Resolution Copper made they had some assessments done on the tunnel. And they have put a fence up, and you can no longer go all the way through the tunnel on the Lost Trail. This has, of course, brought a lot of community discussion and concern and actually some outrage on social media about their decision. We did hear last night, and I want to make sure that this is in the record, Ms. Diaz-Gonzalez, at the CWG meeting last night, Mr. Clank said, and there's no one here from Resolution tonight, that they're researching 3 options. One is to reinforce, rehabilitate, make sure that the tunnel is completely safe, and open it entirely. The second is to close it off partially. It's the eastern end of the tunnel that is creating some concern on its stabilization. Close it off partially and create a bat habitat, or 3, close it completely. We do not want option 3. They're going to have to do some assessments on bat habitat, what bats are living in there right now. Mr. Pryor, am I forgetting anything? Is that pretty much the synopsis? But that's another critical issue that we're watching, because we have a lot of people that have really found hiking the canyon segment of the Lost Trail a nice activity, and that is a piece of our history. That highway was the first $1 million a mile highway that was built in America, and that tunnel is a bit of a historic structure for us. So we don't want to continue to lose more of our history. So we are working on that and having discussions. I want to remind everyone that the food court grand opening and ribbon cutting is tomorrow at 4:30. We do have some snacks and we'll have a little ceremony, ribbon cutting, there'll be a cooking demonstration, and it's our inaugural night of the Farm to Fantastic Farmers Market. So there'll be different vendors. We do believe there will be fish tacos are going to be there. Bert's Pizza is making its re-debut, so those of you that have been missing Bert's Pizza. And so all those repairs at the food court are going to allow us to be able to do more activities there. And I'd also like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Superior Optimist Club for putting on a really nice volunteer appreciation on Saturday. We don't spend enough time appreciating all the volunteers that make a difference in our community. So I'm looking forward to seeing that tradition continue. Mr. Pryor, do you have any other reports for us?
No, I do
Okay. Thank you, council. At this time, I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. We're going to be looking for a motion to approve the minutes of regular meeting on May 9th, 2019. Approval of state liquor application for the Hotel Magma located at 100 Main Street, Superior, Arizona 85173. Approval of state special event liquor license for the Optimist Club for June 14, 2019 at Roses 203 West Main Street, Superior, Arizona 85173. Approval of special event liquor license for Superior Optimist Club on August 3rd, 2019 at the Magma Club, 38 Pumpkin Court, Superior, Arizona for the 4th Annual Magma Royale. Approval of alcohol permit for Superior Optimist Club on August 3rd, 2019 at the Magma Club for the 4th Annual Magma Royale. Approval of letter of engagement with Hinton Burdick for the FY 1920 audits. Approval of a letter of support for proposed district minor project for passing lane from State Route 177 to the tunnel. Approval of public safety personnel retirement pension funding policy, and approval of the third amended lease agreement between the town of Superior and Safety Miners, as well as accepting our department report. Council, is there anything you would like to take off the consent agenda for further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion that we approve the agenda.
There is a motion by Councilmember Lopez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Armitage. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Because we have a rather lengthy agenda, I'd like to move action item F to the top of the agenda. Agenda item F is the discussion and possible approval of the Kelly Clark donation agreement for property needed to complete the proposed alignment of the Lost Caboose segment. I pack it out. Our staff recommends approving this agreement. This will allow for a much more advantageous alignment for the Lost Trail. Closing costs and appraisals is estimated at the cost of $5,000. Council, as you know, we've been working on the full alignment of the Legends of Superior Trail. So you can hike from the Picket Post Trailhead on the Arizona Trail all the way to the tunnel. This will allow for connection from the US 60 Park over to the Sonora Street Bridge over to the Superior Bar. Ms. Kelly Clark is here with us today, Marguerite. We want to thank her publicly for agreeing to make this donation to us, and our minimum cost is less than $5,000 for closing costs and appraisal.
Make a motion to approve the agreement with property to complete the proposed alignment for Lost Caboose segment, action number 6.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Estatico. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Armitage. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And I would like to present Ms. Kelly with a few gifts of appreciation. So. Thank you so much. Little Town of Superior notebook, a pen, and a Lost Trail t-shirt. So we hope to see you on the trail, and we can't wait to see you at the grand opening of this segment. Again, thank you very much, Marguerite. We appreciate your support of Superior and all you're doing. Council, any comments on this particular agenda item? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to agenda item A, which is a public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 19-611, the resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Superior, Pinal County, adopting the fiscal year 2019-2020 final budget. Our staff recommends adopting resolution number 19-611. This adopts the final budget as discussed in the work session in April. The tentative budget was approved at the May 9, 2019 regular council meeting. Fiscal impact. Once the tentative budget is adopted, changes may be made before the final budget is adopted, but the total may not be increased. I'd like for everybody to notice that our budget went up to about $7.3 million. The revenue increases are coming from the multi-gen center agreement with Resolution Copper, which we were allocated $300,000 this year to work on the design and begin some remodeling of this particular building. The Entrepreneurial Center, which is another agreement with Resolution Copper, will have about $100,000 to spend on that, to find staffing, to begin and build that out. And also our park improvements at the US 60 Park, which will be playground equipment and the dog park equipment going in. And that, the park improvements were part of the loss of the smelter to make some investment in the community and things that would help improve the quality of life in Superior. The Youth Council will be working with staff on selecting the playground equipment as well. So we're also adding some public works staff with the improvements to our parks, and we've also added an economic development budget line item to help us with all of our processes. Since we have so many people here that may not have been at that budget hearing, I think that's the highlights and the newness of our budget. Correct, Mr. Pryor?
That's correct. We also have budgeted for a general plan adoption this year. I would remind the mayor, this is a agenda, this is a public hearing, so.
Yes. So now that we've given you an overview, this is a public hearing. This is a last chance for the public to comment on our budget before we go to final approval. Any comments from the public? All right, hearing none, we will close the public hearing, and I will call for a motion to approve the resolution to approve our budget.
I make a motion
There's a
to
motion.
approve Resolution 19-611, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Superior, Pinal County, adopting the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Armitage with a second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to agenda item B. This item also includes a public hearing. I am going to read the cover sheet. I'm going to give some background documentation on this. We will hear comments from the public in the public hearing regarding this, and the property owners may comment at that time. So this is discussion, public hearing, discussion, possible approval of ordinance 19-155. An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Superior, Pinal County, Arizona, rezoning property from the urban residential R1A zone district to the multiple residential R3 zone district. Staff recommends approving this ordinance. Discussion. The purpose of this rezoning is to provide an affordable RV park. General plan designates this property as medium density residential, which allows 20 dwelling units per acre. The purpose of this rezone is to provide a transition from a single residential zone to a more intensive use area. It is further the intent of the multiple residential R3 zone district to allow the continuation of previous town standards within the newer sections of the community. However, if any of the provisions of the proposed project are not specified in the R3 zone district, including but not limited to dimensions, site grading, circulation, design review, lighting, paving, parking, screening, landscaping, or setbacks, the provision of the town zoning ordinances shall apply. This has been an issue that came before planning and zoning last week. I know council, you've been briefed that the planning and zoning had denied the request for the zoning. Since early 2016 or towards late 2016, there's been discussion about the development of this particular property on the south side of town. I have to remind everyone here tonight, the agenda item is to discuss the zoning changes to the property. This is not specific to what would be developed. It's to allow the land to be developed in different ways. Doesn't mean that the development is going to happen because the zoning ordinance is approved or denied tonight. There was also comments that were brought up at planning and zoning regarding some premature construction of the particular project or slated project. And I'd like to confirm that the property owners have been fined, they have been cited, they have been fined, and they have paid their fines for connecting to the sewer system prematurely without permits. That is not what we are here to discuss tonight. We're not here to discuss those things, but I want to be clear to the public that these are issues that have arisen, they have been researched, and we have followed up on them. The property owner has come into compliance. This is step one for the particular property owner to get a zoning clearance. They can't develop this property without changing the zoning. Step two for this project would be to apply for a conditional use permit, because to have an RV park, they would have to go to a conditional use permit. At that point, more of the infrastructure, sound walls, all of those types of things are addressed in the conditional use permit. They will go through another public hearing process. There will be time for the property owner to work with neighbors to clear all of these concerns that are arising in the neighborhood. So with that being said, I'm going to open the public hearing. I'm going to give the property owners the first chance to say what they would like to do with the property. If not, I'm going to open it up to the public to begin making their comments.
Hi, I'm Susie Petron, and I'm sure most people know me here. Can you hear me all right? A little louder? Okay. Well, I'm here as the person that's responsible for the property located at 226 Smith Drive, which is also known as the Box 8 Ranch. I'm also responsible for any missteps in the construction that took place. And what I was trying to do was to ensure that this property will remain in our family to serve its purpose of supporting my 91-year-old mother, who actually still owns it. It's in a family trust. Any legal issues, as you mentioned, have been resolved, and the appropriate fees and fines and permits have been paid or purchased. And at this time, I'm respectfully requesting the council pass the rezone on the 2.71 acres. I was at the planning and zoning meeting on June 6th. I heard issues raised, some of which should not influence this request for rezoning. It was suggested that the rezone should take into account everyone, not just a few persons. If we're given this rezone, our intent is to put in a winter visitor RV park. Mobile homes or park models will not be allowed. The development of such an RV park would benefit the entire community. Snowbirds come to Arizona to recreate and enjoy our warmer weather. They shop for groceries, they frequent local shops and restaurants, and they are also tremendous volunteers. The income revenue for the town would benefit far beyond what its current share is from our property taxes. To emphasize this, currently the road in front of the property on Smith Drive is in deplorable shape. In fact, it has not received repairs the last 3 times the town has resurfaced or repaired existing roadways. This is not because the town has discriminated against us, but for the lack of funds in town coffers to do so. This rezone would bring more funds for infrastructure and town employees. A concern about traffic was raised. Each RV has one vehicle they travel with. If this land is sold to developers, they will build high-density housing, such as the Highlands. Each house would have 2 to 3 cars, all using the same roadways that exist now. And I'm sure a lot of you experienced the congestion on Highway 60 at Signal View in Ironwood during rush hour when people are trying to get home. And yes, I have been approached by developers. They've contacted me in person, by phone, and by registered mail. These developers do not live here. Their intent is to purchase at the lowest price as possible to make the maximum profit, and they go back to their homes in other cities. They will not stay involved in this community. We want to keep this property in our family and at the same time contribute to our community. I think this family has done nothing but make positive contributions to this community in the documented 114 years of its presence in Superior. We will not do anything that would diminish the quality of life here. This rezone is necessary to accomplish continuity of donation, support, and volunteerism from our family. Superior's strength has always been its diversity. It must now diversify beyond a dependence on the cyclical metals market. An RV park with restrictions to protect the quality of life will attract winter visitors to Superior to stay, play, frequent our shops, and volunteer. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else wishing to address Mr. Shane?
So just to be clear, I have not spoken with the Tetrons about the project. I'm a VISTA volunteer. I am the economic sustainability promoter with Rebuild Superior, and I'm on the board of Legends of Superior Trails, but I'm speaking for myself. And one of the things that has happened over the past few years is the town has worked to define itself as a recreational destination. And this is part of having a diversified economy. We are a mining town. Most of us support the mining project, but we don't want to depend on the metals industry alone. Copper brought me to Superior, but Superior kept me here. I believe that this is the kind of project that will help our town. It will help bring people from outside that can enjoy our town in a positive way. It will bring business to Main Street, and I just see it as something worthwhile.
Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak to this matter?
Hi, I'm Elaine Griego and my sister Cheryl Castro. We're here for our parents, David and Verna Lera, who live just west of the property in question. My father's words are, he understands that things change, and he understands that it is the property of these people and it is their right to be able to do with their property as they wish. But with that, we just ask that, I don't know if this is the time to say it because of, as far as, I know we're here, as far as the zoning, and we're looking for a zoning change and not what's happening now, we understand that. But we just ask that, again, the neighbors be respected, and the fact that there are wells, private wells on the property nearby, that we want to keep. I don't know, we're worried about contamination from the septic systems that have already been started. So as far as overflow, so we are concerned about that with our parents' well. Just as far as, again, the safety issues be addressed and make sure that with, like, for example, the APS easement, the health and safety of the neighbors if something happens, and if APS needs to get in there, they can do so, and that, again, that we kind of think about the neighbors and mainly the water, right? That's what is going to be concerned. Yeah, so the sewer and how it hooks up, and if there's any damage to a parent's well, that is their concern. Thank you.
Council, my name is Ruben Castro. I'm a citizen here in Superior, and I speak for myself on this particular issue. I think that it's important that we consider what we have and what we're proposing to change it to, because once the change occurs, it's going to be difficult to step back. I'm not opposed to growth. I'm not opposed to developing Superior's potential. I am supportive of maintaining a quality community where families can raise their children and prepare for the next generation. The proposed change would permanently change the tone and nature of that residential community by changing the zoning in an area that is surrounded by residential properties. That would be tantamount to, and I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it would not be consistent with the current use of the property. Rather than seeking a better location for that particular service for the community, we are being asked to consider carving out a section of an established family residential neighborhood and putting commercial smack dab in the middle. And if it's okay for that area, then why not next to our schools? Or halfway houses, people being released from prison. Why not for other things that aren't really necessarily in the best interest of the current residents of the area? So, planning and zoning, for whatever reason, voted to not proceed with supporting this, and I would ask you to do so. Thank you.
I'm asking that you carefully consider, for the reasons that Mr. Castro stated and Elaine Riego stated, it is going to change the total neighborhood if we allow this. If we do move forward with this, I ask that we take into consideration the school. What is going to be done to protect the neighborhood and the schools? Because after school, there's kids walking through that neighborhood to and from school. So what are we going to do to protect the entire community? Because this is going to be transmitted. I'm not against growth. I'm just asking that you carefully consider this before you. For your time.
Anyone else from the public wishing to address this matter? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Now, council, we do have a few options regarding this action item tonight. Number one, we can approve the zoning request as it is. Two, we can take the recommendations of planning and zoning and we can deny this zoning request. Should we deny this request, the property owner can still come back and resubmit a zoning change addressing some of these concerns to planning and zoning. They will be subject to another $1,000 fine or fee for the permit once again. Two, as you can all notice, we are missing a few key council members here tonight. At advice of the attorney, we can table this until the July meeting. We can ask that the property with that tabling, ask that some of these issues be addressed amongst the neighbors, that, maybe some of these concerns be taken care of. Or number 4, we do have a quorum, and we can approve the zoning request with stipulations that the zoning request is not actually complete until the conditional use permit is actually approved for the development of the property. Now, that's for us to debate tonight, council. Those are the 4 options that we have. We've heard from our residents, we've heard from the property owners. I have to remind everyone once again, this is not to get into the technicalities of what's already been done. This is not about discussing who owns the property, what they want to do with it, what they don't want to do with it. The reality is, if this is a large chunk of land that could be developed, and the private property owners could sell it at any time, we could be faced with even more types of development could come down our way. We have to weigh all of these things carefully. I believe there were some things where lots of things happened at planning and zoning that may have affected their decision. We do have a couple of planning and zoning members here. If anybody wishes to talk about some of that, I will allow that. But I'm going to let council kind of see.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
can I get a clarification from Mr. Cooper, Mr. Pryor, on number 4, about the conditional use being part of the approval?
Yes, if you refer to the 3-12 of our zoning code, it says that recreational vehicle parks are allowed in zoning districts that allow them with a conditional use permit. And there's no option to put a recreational vehicle park in the town without a conditional use permit. So the zoning change is to change them to a district that would allow them the option of applying for a conditional use permit.
But what the mayor was saying, that nothing could be done unless that gets approved, correct?
You can put a stipulation on your motion saying that you are approving it conditional on an approved conditional use permit through the Planning and Zoning Commission and the council. So in essence, it approves it only conditionally on the next set of approvals.
I don't understand how you could do that. How can you issue a permit that on a piece of property where the zoning doesn't apply at that point?
That's on advice from our attorney, so I'll pass that over to him.
Mayor, council members, I will tell you that that's not the preferred option, that, of recommendations that are out there. But before you tonight is basically a zoning determination. I know that the mayor has gone in and fully explained it, probably did a better job on it than I could tonight. But as we sit here today, you could not build an RV park on that property because of the zoning. The zoning would have to be changed. If the zoning is changed, you still can't build an RV park there until you acquire and receive a conditional use permit. The conditional use permit would address issues with regards to traffic, density, sound buffering, dust control, traffic as it relates to the neighborhood, to close to schools, businesses, things of that nature, and also basically a site plan, how it's going to be developed, what the property would look like. And so
just to clarify, that would at that point where we're going through, as a town, when we're going through that process, our citizenry would have opportunity to have input on that issue?
That is a required posting public hearing.
yes, and so in other words, those issues, those concerns that you've heard this evening with regards to how it will affect the neighborhood, those would be addressed as part of the conditional use process, and the applicant would work with town staff to basically come up with a site plan which would address those issues, and there may or may not be a requirement or a suggestion that there maybe be a community meeting, or there's a concept there and there's input from the public and you try to take consideration. In these type of situations, you can't please everybody, but you can certainly try to mitigate the things that are, for the neighborhood.
Your RV ordinance basically does not allow someone to stay there more than 6 months. Winter visitors are nice, but the best thing about them is that they go home. And they're usually gone 8 months out of the year.
Is that the vehicle or the people? Because they could leave their vehicles let's say there was an RV park. They could leave their vehicles there all year, right?
In our zoning ordinance, it says RV parks shall not be used as permanent residence except for owner, manager, permanent maintenance personnel. Maximum length of stay in any RV park shall be 180 days per calendar year. With regards to the issue of leaving it there, I think that's something that would be discussed by looking at the code and discussing that as part of conditional use permits.
I do want to be clear to everyone, Mike backside so everyone here probably can because I'm loud enough. Even if this isn't, if none of this passes and none of this goes forward, the town does not have the ability to stop campers moving into the parcel outside of the 2.7 acres. It's a 20-plus acre parcel, 2.7 acres of that is in town. There's an existing permit with Pinal County for unimproved camping. So they can have RVs outside of that area. They just can't hook that up to utilities. So we do not have the ability, just to be clear, even if it doesn't pass, I can't send my code enforcement officer out to write tickets for RVs that are on that 20 acres. That's county property and it's not regulated by us.
And that's another part of this particular discussion, council, that we have to weigh in on this, is that the property owner could very well start allowing this type of dry camping in the RVs. Well, then you have RVs that are driving through town that, have their waste dumps full, and they also are probably running generators and making other loud noises because they cannot hook up to the electrical. Probably Pinal County's RV code would be even more restrictive and would take almost up to 3 years. I have a friend in Winkleman who wanted to expand her RV park. It was a 3-year process in which to do that. So we do have to think about this. This is something that is part of what our community is going through. We're going through great transformation, and the neighborhoods that we've known, and I live in this neighborhood, we've had our own concerns about traffic and egress, traffic and all of those types of things. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. We're here to talk about how do we, as a council, that's our job to determine what's the best use of the land. This is going to be another matter that will come up when the school's property comes up for a rezone and being annexed into our community. We're going to be having these discussions more frequently, and it's important that we all discuss this in a respectable manner, and I appreciate that everybody's been calm and level-headed through this entire matter. So with that, council, I'm going to address what our options are tonight. We can approve the zoning request. We can deny the zoning request, which is the recommendation of planning and zoning, knowing full well that the property owner can still come back and resubmit the permit once again. They can try to address the concerns, but they would be fined. They would be another fee of $1,000, which council could probably determine if they wanted to waive. We can table this until the July meeting when our full council is here. We can, and hopefully that would maybe give everybody some time to.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'm not going to be here in July for one, and it is a vacation month, and I'm sure there's others that are going to be. So I don't think it's going to make any difference whether we wait till July.
Okay, well, I'm just giving you what our options are. And then we can approve with the stipulations as recommended by our attorney. Not the most convenient, approach, but I believe it's the most respectful approach that protects the zoning of the property to ensure that the development is done correctly before the zoning is actually enacted. Is that a correct way of putting it?
Mayor, council members, and again, I would caution that I think of those options, that would be the least desirable. If you were to approve the zoning ordinance tonight, the ordinance is not effective until 30 days from date of passage. If you approve the rezoning, you still cannot develop that property without a conditional use permit and a site plan. So as I see it, the issue before you tonight is basically, is this change, this potential change in zoning, is that basically conducive with your zoning plan for the community? And not necessarily that it's the highest and best use of the property, but that the use of an RV park in that area is appropriate under our town zoning ordinances. And that's a legislative act of the council to make that determination.
Madam Mayor, I don't have a problem approving this ordinance tonight. I just hope that things get worked out and went through the proper process. When it does come back to us, concerns are addressed. I have some concerns as well. But we're just passing the ordinance tonight, so I don't necessarily have a problem with that.
Make a motion to approve zoning ordinance change number 19-155.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the zoning request.
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Armitage with a second by Councilmember Estatico. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion has carried. I do ask, Mr. Ketron, that you work with our staff and do not miss a beat. Do not miss a beat. We move on to agenda item C, discussion, possible approval of IGA between the state of Arizona, the Arizona Department of Revenue, and the town of Superior. Staff recommends approving this IGA. This agreement shall supersede and replace all previous intergovernmental agreements, including amendments thereto entered into by the Arizona Department of Revenue and Town of Superior regarding the administration, collection, audit, and/or licensing of transaction privilege tax, use tax, severance tax, jet fuel, excise, and use taxes, and rental occupancy taxes imposed by the state, cities, or towns. This agreement will not result in any budgetary impact to the Town of Superior.
Make a motion to approve.
So motion on the floor to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Did you get that?
Moving on to agenda item D, discussion possible approval of adoption of policy for video services license form. Staff recommends approving video services license forms and policies. State Bill 1140 passed last year. The bill requires municipalities to issue a uniform video service license to video service producers beginning January 1st, 2020. And cities and towns must adopt a standard application, affidavit, and agreement by July 1st, 2019. These standard forms are attached along with the chapter versions of Senate Bill 1140. These forms closely track with the statutory requirements by SB 1140 and have been reviewed and accepted by Cox, the proponent of SB 1140, and larger telecommunications work group. These forms also take into account the recently passed H. Bill 2229 and House Bill 2179. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion that we approve the adoption of a policy for video service license.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Lopez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Armitage. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. I'm going to move on to agenda item E, and I want to note to every council and the public that staff did a tremendous amount of research on this particular ordinance or this resolution, and we kind of put the costs in the middle. We researched what fees were being charged by communities around us. So this is also a public hearing if anyone wishes to address the council on this. Public hearing discussion, possible approval of resolution 19-612, a resolution of the town council of the town of Superior adopting the application and fees for commercial occupation permit. Staff recommends approving the commercial occupation permit. Businesses are usually required to obtain a commercial certificate of occupancy prior to opening their doors to the public. Any individual that opens a place of business without a commercial certificate of occupancy can be subject to the penalties established by their local governing authority. Commercial occupancy permits are valid for 1 to 2 years depending on specific features of the property. Commercial structures up to and including 20,000 square feet, a $60 fee required on any change of occupancy or ownership after 2 years of the most recent application date. Additional fees to be added to base fees of any commercial structure when applicable are as follows. $10 if equipped with a sprinkler system. $5 if equipped with a kitchen fire suppression system. $5 if equipped with a fire alarm system, for a total of $80. Reinspection fees must be paid prior to scheduling additional inspections. A $50 fee will be assessed for re-inspections requested and/or performed 30 days after the first re-inspection, unless an extension has otherwise been obtained. An applicant, property owner, tenant, or any person responsible may be assessed the certified mail cost to the town of Superior or any certified mail charges to the town incurred for enforcement of any ordinances or any code violation. If there is a change of use as defined by ICC Building Code Sections 105.1 and 110.1, a building permit may be required. Council, do we have a motion to approve, or public hearing, does anybody have a comment on this?
Can you repeat that?
You can watch it on the tape. Do we have any comments from the public? No? All right, we have a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve resolution 19-612.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Armitage with a second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We've already done agenda item F. We're moving on to agenda item G, which is discussion, possible approval of a fire subscription agreement with the Boyce Thompson Arboretum for fire protection. Staff recommends approving this agreement. The Arboretum is unable to get insurance without some sort of fire coverage, as the town is working towards annexation of these properties, and an interim agreement is necessary. The Arboretum would pay $4,676.15 per year for 3 years or until a successful annexation is completed.
Make a motion to approve.
There's a motion by Councilmember Statico. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And I do want to express the Arboretum board and their staff are extremely appreciative. They are very, very impressed by how quickly our staff at the fire department and Mr. Pryor worked. They put all this together in about a week's time because they're down to the wire. On July 1st, the Arboretum is a completely private organization, no longer under the umbrella of state parks or the U of A. So this is really important to our community, and I know they're very, very appreciative to council and to our staff. So thank you all. We move on to agenda item H, discussion, possible approval of master utility services agreement with sustainability partners for possible future funding of capital projects. Staff recommends approving this agreement. This does not commit us to any projects right now, but allows us to explore this funding source for future capital projects.
Make a motion to approve.
There's a motion by Councilmember Statico. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Councilmember Armitage. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move on to agenda item I, discussion, possible approval of streetlight LED retrofit agreement with PLG LLC for the revenue neutral retrofit of the town's streetlights. Staff recommends approving this agreement. Work on this project will start in July and should be complete before the end of the year. This project is revenue neutral. I'd like to thank Councilmember Statico for sitting on the RFP review committee. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the street light of LED retrofit agreement.
There's a motion by Councilmember Lopez.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Plan of action?
Okay, the plan of action for implementation, funding, okay, implementation is, they are already starting a survey. We had our first preliminary meeting this Monday. They are surveying all of the streetlights to make sure that the inventory they got from APS is correct and accurate and represents the actual lights. The next phase will be to be a design of the replacement lights, considering that they want to light the street and not the house next to the street. They want it to be isolated to that area.
The shorter version.
Okay. Then after that, they build it. After that, they give us a smart controller that allows us to turn the lights up and down. And the entire project should be done by September.
Through the website.
and through apps on your phone.
Obligation.
You'll be able to have an app on your phone and turn the lights. Say we want to turn the lights down on Main Street for the Christmas parade. We hit a button on our phone and it turns the lights off. Huh? Yeah, probably.
What we talked about, we're gonna try to pay for this up in one shot, or we're gonna spread it out.
We have a variety of options. We do have enough money in the bank to write a check for it if we like. We are saving about $25,000 a year, so that would pay more than the debt service if we wanted to finance it. So
I like that option myself, but
I'll bring both options to the council next month for consideration, and we can make comments.
I'll second the motion.
You made the motion.
Who made the motion?
Who made the motion?
Pay attention.
Sorry. Well, you had to ask all those questions. You never ask any questions. Councilmember, the motion was made by Councilmember Lopez. Councilmember Sadek seconded the motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Sadiga, are you sure it's a bottle of water, not water? Rations?
We'll now move to call to the public. At this time, anyone from the public wishing to address us may do so. You do have a limit to 3 minutes on call to the public. Is there anyone on the list, Arlene?
Meet Sue Atkinson's not?
Okay. Susie Ketron, do you have anything else to say? Okay. Elaine and Cheryl have left. James O'Donnell, do you wish to address the call to the public?
I hear it.
Podium.
You have to go to the podium. Young man.
Good evening. Can you hear me? No?
Yes.
Okay. Jim O'Donnell, a certified real estate appraiser for 23 years, born and raised in Arizona. Family goes back to 1917, and 26 years of banking and insurance experience. I just want to add a little bit to the RV park. In 2010, 11, 12, the housing industry was down and out, and I assisted certified general appraiser down in the valley, Archie Depp, and we officially appraised 2 RV parks. And I did all the labor and all that, but my research showed that the average retirement RV person is about 55 years of age. Their total investment is close to $65,000. I don't care if it's a gooseneck or a motorhome, can run up to $350,000. But they're usually the higher income. They're the empty nesters, discretionary income, very respectable people. And this is 2 studies that I did years ago. But the RV community is extremely, extremely important to this town because they bring revenues, they volunteer, and they're very nice people. They have an investment. They bring a 5th wheel in and they have their truck to move around. Or if they can afford a motorhome, they usually carry a small pickup truck in the back and use that. But, sewer concerns, I'm not sure if they're going to start off with septic tanks, but you can have monthly service programs for septic tanks, if anybody has any concerns about that. And being in the appraisal business, the septic tank has to be certified by the county, created in the Senate. And every so many years, the county inspects those plants. But anyway, if you decide to go ahead with this program, I think it's going to be a good advantage to this town of Superior. Very respectable people. The 2 RV parks I did in East, at Patrick Junction and Mesa, they're all ex-professionals. They could add some energy to this town. They can help and provide a lot of services. And that's all I have to say about the RV community.
Thank you very much, and I hope that you'll come work with our RV development group. Next on the list, Mark Shackelford. Did you want to be on the list to say something?
Come on, Shaq.
This is why she got me up here without. Was I on the list to speak?
You wrote your name. You can
I
decline.
was just showing attendance.
And that
Contract before you sign.
Okay, I'll speak then. I think as a member of this police department, this Harvey Park would be a really, really good thing. Like the gentleman stated, you know, they bring a lot of income. They're not here throughout the whole year. They're transit. They come in, they're here for the winter time, and then they leave. But they have a huge economic impact. I think it would be beneficial for the town, it'd be beneficial for the department, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Last call for call to the public. Okay. And
Mayor?
call to, yes?
Have one person left?
He wants me to speak.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, I wasn't planning on speaking.
Oh, okay.
My name is Neil Carter. I'm running for State House in District 8, which includes, of course, Superior. So I wanted to come because I came to check up on the fire, Woodbury Fire. But if anybody wants to speak with me, please do. I think politicians don't listen enough. They need to hear from you, because the reality is that they need to take to Phoenix. We need superior representation here, and they need to take to Phoenix your ideas. So I'm happy to give anybody who wants my personal phone number and email. I'll be here afterwards, and please talk to me if you're so kind. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. All right, we're going on to, we do have an executive session item tonight, but what I'm going to do is go back to summary of current events. Councilmember Armitage?
I would like to, I don't have any current events, but I would like to say congratulations to our new chief who's not here. And I would like to say a special thanks to Marguerite Kelly for her donation of the property to the Lost Trail System. And I'd like to say a special thanks to, I think his name is Mark Shackelberg, who spent, how many weeks was it, Mark?
I'm not really sure, but I think it was 12.
I know it starts out, we promised you 2 weeks of service, and you've got 12 weeks, so that'll look great on your resume. So thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for filling in during that period of time as interim chief. You solved the, I want to say it right. I mean, you were needed and you put your hand up and stepped up to the plate, and I just want to personally thank you very much for that.
If I can reply, I couldn't have done it without the help of the council and the town manager and all the town employees. You made it easy, although I wasn't heartbroken when Frank came in.
Well, I never heard any bad things, so you obviously did a decent job anyway, right? So, thank you.
Councilmember Lopez? Councilmember Statico?
I'm a member of the law, so I want to also thank you for donating that property. I look forward and I hope I'm around to see that come to fruition. I think it's pretty cool having a trail from Picket Post all the way to the tunnel. Also want to thank Officer Shackelford. Bruce said it best, you stepped in when we need you. Somebody to step up, and you did. Also want to comment on Head Start. We probably will have enough space to take everybody in come September, if they come August, if they sign up. So we're hoping that takes place. That's for this year, though. The school doesn't take 3-year-olds in, but we should have enough space to house everybody for this upcoming school year. The district has a project at the high school. It's a weatherization and drainage project. The building's been leaking for 18 years. It's been ongoing. Water's been getting in different spaces. We're working with the school facilities board. This is a $220,000 project to have water run through alongside the school and out the back. The next project will be from the SFB to weatherize the walls and the roof at the high school as well as Kennedy. Kennedy's been moving for 54 years. So those two things are going to happen hopefully in the near future. And then the third project would be to do a flooring project at both sites to go to a polished concrete at both sites. So we're working with the school facilities board to get those things done. Again, they're not new issues. Those have been issues that have been there since the buildings were built. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, tomorrow night is Second Friday, grand opening of the food court. When Anthony's not here, but you all should really thank him. That's been a great project for our public works. And Mark, thank you for making sure I could at least sleep at night the last 12 weeks. I greatly appreciate you stepping up to the call, because we just kind of were like, hey, can you do this job for us? And I will always be appreciative of your willingness to do that job. So thank you. And thank you to all of our staff who have been going through all of these transitions. I think everybody's weathering them all quite well. We've got lots of exciting things to work on as we get started to start our new fiscal year on July 1. Looking forward to 4th of July and all those fun activities coming up for Food Fair Fest. And we're still aiming for no council meeting in August, so that's the plan.
Mayor, I did want to let everyone know, since we have a large crowd here tonight, we're going to have a public hearing for a design review and for a possible closure of Neary Street at the next month council meeting, planning and zoning meeting, and then it will be forwarded to the council. So it will be the first week of July and the second week of July. That's going to be a huge project. It's going to take a similar aesthetic to the food court upgrade and apply them to a much larger town center park.
So did everybody hear that? It's going to go through its own design review process, but that's the expansion of the park to make our festivals much more inclusive and make all of our events run a little bit better. So that'll go through planning and zoning and council and everything. So with that being said, we have to, I need a motion.
Motion to go into executive session with the town council, town attorney, town manager, town clerk, for not more than 30 minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll be going into executive. It's 8:11, so we'll be back in 30 minutes if anybody wants to wait for us.
Nice to meet you. I met your brother.
Was very interested to listen to you.
I know you're doing yeah. My mom is this lot of stuff. Oh, hi. The raised my parents. No, my mom passed away. That's okay. That's what you're doing. He's still in town. Sure, I will.
back and just.
Don't care who's showing up. She said, they got me because I'm hitting. Duh. You hit, you play.
And the beautiful thing is, the thing is, all this youth council stuff doesn't hurt. City council, because of Lindsay, she was my first high student. National council awards every year. Unless you have the kids just want to be out and do something.
Anyway, we were there.
Well, that's
And so I was there the first year, 76. And I told her she's got to get over there in a year. They had satellite satellite at CSC. I said they should be extremely interested. The hotel on Street, they'll have a job for you. This is just the beginning. They were very productive. I really express maybe you can help her out because if you're associated with people, these kids need to have that.
So I just send it to them. They're there to someone we go into so you can extension office there. So I will follow up with the city department.
You should, because you know, there's Cornell.
Yes.
Washington State, and they use the youngest group, even though it's 45 years old, the youngest group. We got all our doctors and our professors from UNLV in Vegas, and they keep Dr. Hanson, Dr. Anderson, and everything. They taught us all this stuff. It is such a, they have their own kitchen, they have their own catering, they have their own hotel. They get practical. You know, I had to deal with food chemistry.
I had to chemistry at AU.
What? You know, so I barely got through that, you know. But bottom line, you know, and the thing with this is, if these kids and kids don't, you know, they need NAU here. They need to come talk, advise. You get up there, put your kids there. You know, they still have voice states. You know, and you know, I didn't make a big splash. I was a first grader.
That's awesome. What year did you graduate?
High school? Yeah.
My mom was 67 and then my Aunt Rosemary was 65. Remember? And she was my role model because you know, she won a bunch of awards.
We call the females in your family waffles. Pretty women. And Cisneros, I think there's nothing. He's the one that put our basketball court behind our house over there. Frank Reese and I, when the kids, we all framed it. Then we had a junk hall that our grandma kept complaining about. Old bicycles, old chairs, iron stuff. So we took all our junk and put it in this bed. We had the truck in the back, and you're nothing there finishing it up. He comes up and says, you know, you asked for steel, we gave you steel.
You know, I had great memories out there.
Yeah, you know, the thing with it is that we have great grandparents. I mean, it's just, this passion. I'm going to a nonprofit, watershed nonprofit. We're going to include Clee Valley, top of the world, we got a lot of water. It's like to the valley. Yeah. Keep it here.
I have my horses out with weed seeder at corral.
See you guys.
We're the only ones that now that have horses.
Hi, Tina. I'll see you guys in the morning.
So I have one desire. You know, this is my 20th. Starting my 20th. No, I never got my master's. I was like,
Working and having kids, right?
and I drove back and forth.
Oh, man.
But I was very blessed.
We had 6 ladies that Harvey Martinez, Sanchez,
Okay, Mary wants to.
yeah, but they parked I think they had 3 classes a week.
Good luck with Texas, and then I tried to be a student. But I so my mom could watch my kids. And my boys grew up to be wonderful young men. And I still have my youngest one here, which looks the guys that are at her.
I hear
every day. So that's their life. They should get
Towards the end of the day, we'll see them.
Yeah, he's over there going.
I told him.
Okay.
Where is he? He said there.
We have a long history.
Well, I did understand it, but then when you and I talked about that, okay, well,
Nice to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you.
12:30.
You'll have to get me her schedule so that I can.
Yes.
And then we can travel. With the car. Okay.
I'm tired. I've been up since like 2:30 in the morning with a dog. You see that? There was a dog that came to our house at like 2:30. I thought it was a judge. And then I said, it's not a judge. But I heard, I had gone up Dr. Tree's rest and I heard this noise in the backyard. And then I turned the lights on, I looked up, I didn't want to go out there because if it was somebody, I didn't want to, I don't want any person to, I don't want to confront anybody. So I turned the lights on, maybe it'll scare them away. Then I went back to my room and I could still hear this noise. And I said, there is something in my backyard. So then the Nooks in the front, right? So, and then pretty soon Mila gets up because the dogs are barking. I mean, he is like, woo, 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 woo. He is going to town. So she opens the door for him and he runs to the back door. There's another dog in our backyard. I don't know how that dog is. It's a black dog with red. Well, anyway, Mila says, do you think it's one of those dogs that comes, like, oh, it's meant to be ours? I said, I don't think so. Why don't you just post it?
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
he came in like one night, we spent the night. And the next morning, we went to the she did the beer.
Well, this one, they posted, yeah. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, she's posting it outside. And it belongs to, so it belongs to Kelsey.
All right.
They live over there.
We have a motion to adjourn to open session. There's a motion by Councilmember Lopez, second by Councilmember Stasko. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We return to open session at 8:24. At this time, we're in our instruction instruct town manager, town attorney, and town staff to proceed as directed in executive session. Do we have a motion? Don't you have to make a motion? Do we need a motion to
No.
direct you, or can I just direct you?
Yeah, basically, it would be just that you would direct staff to proceed as directed in the executive session.
All right, well then, staff, we direct you to move forward as we discussed in executive session. With that being said, we'll move on to scheduling of meetings and events. We have emergency services, 6/20, 2019, emergency service, or community development committee, 6/27. There will be no planning and zoning meeting in July. Town of Superior Municipal Property Corporation will meet on 7/11 at 6:30 p.m. And the town council meeting will be at 7/11 at 7 p.m. So, thank you, and we have a motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilmember Staticos, second. Second by Councilmember Lopez, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Any opposed? Motion carried, we adjourn at 8:25.
Does Steve get points for motioning the votes tonight?
I think so, I mean, Steve, you get the motion.
Second, you can do a motion.
Yeah, we had a very intense.
Yeah, do it right along.
Kept it going.
Probably really good. So you fight taking me away.
I already did that, maybe what you
It doesn't really matter because it's